Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Straight Talking Sport. You're here with me, John Winchester, and joining me this week is Grant Elliott.
Hello.
And Kieran Pick.
Hi.
We're going to be talking about the FA Cup, the Winter Olympics, and the Six Nations. So let's get started. First of all, the FA Cup. People are saying that the romance of the FA Cup is not as strong or as passionate as it once was. What do you guys think?
For the smaller clubs, I think it's still the same. Maybe in terms of bigger clubs like Chelsea and Man United, Arsenal, perhaps not when they can. When you consider all the talk about the team they was going to put out the weekend, a lot of people saying that they're going to rest players ahead of the Champions League, and maybe the Champions League means more to than the FA Cup does for these teams.
Yeah, I think if you wasn't just Man City, but teams like Southampton received a lot of criticism for resting a lot of players. Swansea as well. I mean, Swansea, again, you can give them a little bit more leeway because they've got the Europa League tie this week. But for Southampton, they're a mid-table team that are safe from relegation. And, the FA Cup's a cup competition that they should be looking to challenge, particularly with some big teams going out and facing each other. I thought it was a missed opportunity for Southampton. Also, I think some of the tradition's been lost in the way it's been commercialised. I know one game was postponed, but only one game took place at 3 o'clock on Saturday. All the others were spread apart. One's not even taken place yet on Monday. And the FA Cup draw for the next round was drawn before the Arsenal-Liverpool game. So,
I think in regards to that, the FA Cup draw that was usually a thing that everyone went to go in for. Like everyone wanted to watch it. So when it's being done before the Arsenal-Liverpool game, or even before the Brighton-Hull game tonight, teams are gonna play differently. Bearing in mind what fixture they could get in the next round, like Sheffield Wednesday, face of a possible Sheffield derby if they beat Charlton, they could bring their A game to it.
It's a lot more motivation, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So, but Liverpool, that I think they put out a pretty strong side, and they lost to Arsenal, who are resting a few players. So there are big teams that are still showing some respect to the cup, but that might be because they're in the Champions League or not. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, but just getting back to Liverpool and Southampton, I think to them finishing as high as they can in the Premier League offers them a lot more than what maybe the FA Cup does. I mean, certainly does in terms of prize money. You get a lot more money for finishing maybe in the top 8. Southampton could. They'll get a lot more money prize-wise than they would if they won the FA Cup. And, for teams like Southampton, it really matters the fact that you need to get money to be able to compete in the Premier League.
But by winning the FA Cup, you get into Europe, though. Surely that's a prize in itself that is more realistic of them achieving in the Cup than in the Premier League, where it's very competitive, that top 8 now. It's going to be very difficult for a team like Southampton to break into that.
I think as well, fans, they do want success, and finishing mid-table in the Premier League might not be enough for them if they could go on a good cup run. You got teams in the Championship that maybe not having a great time there, but they're basically in the quarterfinals now, and they're offering fans something different to not being up there or in the top league or pushing for Champions League or anything like that, or even for Premier League.
It's great for fans if you're from a mid-table club in League One or Championship. If you can go, or League Two, if you can go on a run where you can play the bigger teams in the FA Cup, then that's great. But also, a lot of the fans of Premier League teams want them to do both, and for a lot of the clubs out of the 20, and it's difficult for a team to perform well in the FA Cup as well as keep Premier League performances on a weekly basis at a high standard. And I think that's why it's difficult for teams like Southampton and Swansea. It's difficult for them to even get a good squad that's capable of winning or progressing far in tournaments like that.
One thing I will say is that the fact that how the draws turned out this year in particular, a lot of the big clubs have been drawn against each other, and it provides a window of opportunity for teams like Wigan to really put themselves on the national scale in front of everyone, and teams like Charlton, Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United all getting drawn against each other. I would personally, I find those matches more exciting, more interesting than your standard Premier League versus a Premier League team. I think it because it's in the FA Cup, it just provides that something a little bit different.
You got one of the Sheffield teams or Charlton in the semi-finals now, guaranteed. So it gives those fans none of them are in the Premier League, so it gives those fans something to be hopeful for.
Well, they get a trip to Wembley anyway, even if making the semi-finals, you get a trip to Wembley now. But it's just a case of, I wonder if you ask Wigan fans, I know they won the cup last year, but they also went down. If you asked the fans before at the beginning of the season, would you rather stay in the Premier League or win the FA Cup? I think it'd probably be 50-50, whereas years gone by, it might have been the fact that winning the FA Cup was the main priority.
Did Dave Whelan say that he would take the FA Cup over Premier League survival? I thought I read somewhere that he didn't mind the fact that they got relegated because they won the FA Cup. When for a place like Wigan, which has got such a rugby league heritage, the FA Cup was brilliant for that part of the country.
I think for a Premier League team it's a bit different, but especially for a Football League team, they would probably take the FA Cup and be relegated. I think that there's not as much at stake, is there? To be in a lower tier, and because there's not as much success there, I don't think, and much else in the way of fixtures going. But shall we go with FA Cup predictions? Who we think's going to win at this stage? Just one answer.
I know there's there's going to be Charlton or one of the two Sheffield clubs in the semi-final, and I know Wigan won it last year, but I just think it's going to be Man City's going to win this year. They've got a good squad, performing well for every game they're playing, no matter what competition it is. Man City are favourites for me.
I'm gonna plump for Arsenal. Bit of a risky bet, but I fancy Arsenal.
See, I was going to say the same thing as Kieran there, because they haven't won anything in quite a while now. It's getting to that stage where Arsenal might be keeping one eye on it, even though they're still in the Champions League and they're still in the Premier League. He may just want to win a trophy now. So,
I think he's wanted to win the trophy for the last 9 years, but it
just hasn't happened for him.
I think as long as they can avoid any more big injuries, there's no doubt since Ramsey's been injured, I don't think they've looked as good. And if they can get Giroud scoring again, I genuinely think they'll be contenders for both the FA Cup and the league.
Giroud's only got 2 or 3 goals in his last 11 games or something. He's obviously shown tiredness. It was obvious at the beginning of the season. If you got one predominant striker, he's not going to be able to score for the whole season, no matter who you are.
Okay, moving on to the Winter Olympics. Sochi spent over 30 billion on the games. Have you been watching it?
Yep, I have. It's I've been not watching all the events, but certain events that wouldn't normally appeal to me. BBC have been mad on curling, I've noticed. So I've been getting into that a little bit. I watched both Jenny Jones and Lizzie Arnold's medals. Even found myself watching some of the dancing on the ice last night.
That's on a different channel.
No. I think the game so far has been very good. I've not seen too much criticism of the games itself. I think the facilities have all been up to scratch, and I think it's matched what most people were expecting.
I've watched bits and pieces of it. I wouldn't say that I've watched probably as much as Kieran has, but I've watched bits and pieces of it. But the criticism, I wouldn't criticise any of the venues or anything like Kieran says. I think the criticism mainly has come politically before the games and certain rules that there are in Russia regarding homophobic taunts and stuff, which is completely and utterly wrong, but it's been politically complained about more than it has the actual games itself.
I think it's run relatively smoothly, but Great Britain have 2 medals now, gold from Lizzie Arnold and bronze for Jenny Jones. The commentary from the BBC has been criticised quite heavily. It got over 300 complaints in Jenny Jones's women's slopestyle event because of the bias, shall we say, nature of it. What were your guys' views on it?
Yeah, at the time when I was watching it, I felt a little bit uncomfortable because in the commentary box was Amy Fuller, who's represented GB in the same event but didn't make the final. She you can't blame her for being quite patriotic and supporting Jones, but the fact she was almost screaming and cheering once other competitors fell, I didn't think that was very professional at all. And the BBC's commentary, I think, throughout has been a little bit sketchy. During Lizzie Arnold's final run in the skeleton, Amy Williams was the co-commentator, who coincidentally is Arnold's roommate. So I thought she did a better job at remaining professional. She'd clearly been warned beforehand not to repeat that. But I think with the Winter Games, because there's less media professionals who have expertise in that sport, they've had to get current competitors to bridge that gap.
Well, the Fuller incident, it's unsportsmanlike, or should I say unsportsmanlike, really. I mean, it's, on the one hand, it's good that she's being patriotic and cheering on her friend and part of another Team GB member, but when you're in that spot and you've got to be totally unbiased, you've got to call it straight down the line. I mean, we see it a lot, not just at the Winter Olympics, but all sports, when it's England or Great Britain that's being represented, the commentators always call them we, as opposed to like England or GB. I mean, there's a line where you don't cross, and
I think it's natural to refer to them as the nation are watching you, like that sort of thing. But it's like screaming and cheering's too far.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's taking it too far.
Yeah, you got to remember who your audience is really. If you think back to the Olympics, you got some of the great moments like Mo Farah winning, Jessica Ennis. They were cheering and shouting there, where commentators are really getting behind them. But
it's a bit different getting excited at a sporting moment. They got excited. They didn't just get excited by Mo Farah and Jess Ennis. They got excited by Usain Bolt and countless other people.
I think there's an element of the audience want commentators to get excited, otherwise it doesn't work.
Oh, but it's just going to be dull. It adds the commentators add more when you're watching it. They evoke more passion from fans.
Yeah, that was my next point. It's like when you start showing clear signs of favouring competitors over another, that's when there should be a line really where. But if it's like they're about to win, you're getting behind them because it's a great moment, 100-metre final, 10,000-metre final, whatever, it should be getting behind the event and what's happening with the spectacle rather than getting behind the person and to the detriment of all the other competitors.
Yeah, I think it actually goes against the Olympic values to be cheering at someone else's performance, falling over and stuff like that. It's not the Olympic spirit.
Okay, moving on to the Six Nations now, and England prop Dan Cole has been ruled out with a neck injury. Do you think this has affected our chances?
A little bit. We haven't got too many options in the prop area. I think David Wilson's the favourite to replace Cole, but he's only just coming back from injury himself. Has not looked fully fit in his Premiership performances. And there's also Henry Thomas, who's only made 3 caps, I think, so far for England, 22. So there's options there, but Dan Cole, that front three, particularly Dan Cole and Dylan Hartley, have been very reliable for England over the last couple of years, and without him, it'll be a little bit harder against Ireland this weekend.
Well, it's a bit of a blow considering the fact that we got Ireland, who've won both their games so far. Maybe if we was playing against someone like Italy or if it happened before the Scotland game last weekend, then we might have been a bit better off. But the fact we're playing the informed team at the moment, it is a blow.
Any other thoughts on the Six Nations? Who's going to win?
I think Ireland are in pole position at the moment. France not too far behind. If Ireland can beat England at the weekend, then I'd make them favourites to win quite convincingly. Wales were disappointing against Ireland, and they've got some work to do really. Regarding England's chances, again, it's make or break. If they can beat Ireland, they're right in it. But I think they're looking for a much more convincing performance than the France game.
Yeah, this is one of those occasions where I agree with Kieran. I'd also say that Ireland are probably my favourite. They're probably my tips to win Six Nations this year.
And who do you think is going to get a wooden spoon in a word?
Scotland.
Italy.
Okay. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Straight Talking Sport. If you would like to email us, the email is straighttalkingsport@gmail.com. You can follow us all on Twitter. I am at JohnWin51. Grant is
At GDE93.
and Kieran is.
At the Kieran Pick.
Please subscribe, like, rate, and comment. And we will see you all next week. Goodbye.